Bakhmut, which has been fought over for the last 6 months, looks now as if it may fall to the Russians, the Wagner group, who've been assaulting it. Prigozhin has said today that they've almost got it, and that's probably true. I think the Ukrainians will probably have to withdraw from Bakhmut. It won't matter strategically. This is a symbolic victory and a symbolic defeat for the Ukrainians, but there's not a lot of strategic importance in that. But there is in Vuhledar, further south, because that's the high ground, dominates the area around it and dominates the route north. And the Russians have been attacking at Vuhledar. We've been watching this for a couple of weeks now, but it's in the public domain, so we can talk about it. Which is the case that the Ukrainians have been leaving the roads. There's not many roads into Vuhledar. They've been leaving the roads open and clear and putting mines in all the fields between them. Very muddy, wet fields at the moment. Russian tanks have been coming up the roads, they've been being hit, and all the tanks behind them have been transferring into the fields and hitting the mines. It's been a tremendous battle between tanks and armoured vehicles and landmines. And the Ukrainians are able to keep putting more mines in, both secretly at night and also through artillery. You can actually use artillery to drop mines into an area these days. So the Russians are doing quite poorly there. Meanwhile, in Bryansk Oblast, at a little village at Lubyshen, which is quite near to the border between Ukraine and Russia, there was an attack. The Russians called it a terrorist attack. It's a very small attack by a group who've claimed responsibility, who are calling themselves the Russian Volunteer Corps within the international unit that fights for the Ukrainians. Almost certainly, this is a bit of free enterprise. If it was a false flag attack that the Kremlin has set up, then it would have been a lot more serious. And equally, if it really was some sort of sabotage attempt by the Ukrainian government, they'd have done it on a much bigger scale. This is a small-scale thing. It's resulted in a certain amount of death, not very much, but there you are. I think it's just a bit of free enterprise, and it's not very helpful to Kiev. Meanwhile, what is helpful to Kiev is the fact that there is another aid package on the way from the United States. $400 million, which is getting on for $500 million, which brings the US total up to about $32 billion. A lot of it is ammunition, but some of it is the snappily entitled Armoured Vehicle Launch Bridge. That's it, an Armoured Vehicle Launch Bridge. And what it is, it's a tank basis, and this bridge, which it's able to just throw out, it launches it. The bridge is about 60 feet long, about 20 metres, and it can go over whatever it is, small rivers or ravines or any sort of obstacle on the ground that troops need to get over. It's quick, it's very efficient. You know, we often talk about weapons, whether there are offensive and defensive weapons. There is no such thing as an offensive or a defensive weapon. Depends what you use it for. But looking at weapons, and this is a non-lethal system altogether, this is probably 90% offensive. Because if you're on the defence, if you're falling back, you blow up the bridges and get the other side of them. If you're moving forward, you need something to get over small obstacles pretty quickly. So this is what troops use when they're moving forward, if they've got to get forward quickly. And so there are 8 of them on their way. According to the United States, the Ukrainians will need them because they need them for the offensive, which they're planning. It hasn't started yet, but when it does start, it will be conducted with some of the best equipment in the world, including the launch bridge.